with what Tim said about losing the other two stations, we still need those two stations geographically. I mean, I can't go from east to answer a call way over at the other end of town and then come halfway back. Because of the covered bridges and the size of the town, we still need them. One of the problems that I see, and the advantage to having the 6-bay apparatus floor, with this new station, we come back with a truck, we get it inside, we wash it, we take care of it. Right now, in East, if you want to wash the truck, you've got to move a couple of them out, move this one over to this bay, because only one bay works to wash. I think you have the same problem at West.
Yes.
And at Center, they bring it in and wash it, but the water problem in there is so bad, it's destroying the trucks. So we take care of a lot. It gives us the ability to take care of our apparatus. We're really struggling to do that now. We have to wait for a warm day to get the salt off our trucks.
And I mean, now with Engine 2 being out of service and the rust problems it has, I know at West Station and probably East there's a heightened awareness to keep the trucks clean. And we're trying our best. I mean, we've brought the engine back from calls during the snowstorms this winter, and we get it into the bay and we try to clean it, especially the undercarriage. And it's cold, it's not comfortable. I mean, it's not great on a 90-degree day either, but we don't have the space, we don't have the water lines, the water that we're getting is okay, but sometimes it's not the best. So it's a challenge, definitely, and as I said, all of us have a heightened awareness now about our trucks. Particularly with the one engine out for what it's out for. Yeah. And we're all worried. I think the biggest thing with that engine being out now is we're worried about, we have an older fleet and we're worried about what the next truck is that's going to be to go. And if it goes now, we have a huge problem. And part of that is we do our best, but we just don't have the space or the equipment to keep everything pristine.
We're trying to maximize the life of these fire trucks, and we keep referring to them as our fire trucks, but they really are the town's fire trucks. And the way we maximize the life of these fire trucks is by good basic maintenance, which does mean washing them at the end of each call. And to have the space to do that is vital to allowing us to keep this basic maintenance up. One of the things I wanted to touch on with your point is that all our EMS supplies, the supplies that we use to restock the truck at the end of a call, is stacked on top of the places where we store our gear. So you get that dirty gear in there that's off-gassing these byproducts of combustion, and the only storage space we have for our EMS equipment is on top of those gear.
We do everything we can by keeping things in plastic bags to try to keep stuff sealed and clean, and the more important items are placed in an area that we feel is safer within the fire station. But again, it's not adequate. It's not a proper ventilated space for medical grade type equipment. Plus, I wanted to add back when you guys are talking about decon, and people don't discuss when we come back to these stations. Not only we got to clean the truck, we got to clean our gear, and that's a big thing with the gear. When guys come back and they got everything they were in working in a building on their gear, they come back and have to use a garden hose to gross decontaminate the gear, and then we just have two little washers that we try to wash, and then we hang dry our gear. That gear is usually out of service for up to 24 hours. Some guys, if it's late, we get back 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, they'll go home and the gear stays until they come back to take care of it. And again, it's just, makes it longer for that gear to be back in service. And then just the damage alone that it does to the gear over a long period of time. So this new facility will actually give us more space in the equipment to be able to handle both, not only our gear, but our medical equipment and cleaning of the medical equipment as well.
What took so long for us to get this, in process or in place? It just seems like the town folk think that we're taking a station away from them. We're not. All I've heard is that we're closing West Station. We're not closing West Station. I think they're fearful of what's going to happen. As I know it, Swanzey has 5 boroughs. So if we lose Center Station, then we only have 2 stations covering these 5 boroughs. Is it more expensive to add 3 more stations to cover those 5 boroughs so that we have a total of 5? Or would it just be more you know, adequate and efficient to add this new station to our town.
The two stations, the east and west that we get now, were built way back in the 40s, I guess, 40s and 50s, and cobbed onto for years. When we get people that, like, I want to join the fire department, you know, you bring them into these buildings and you're this tight together as you walk between trucks. You can't really show them much. The lighting is poor. And you look at these kids and you're like, you know, I've been here for 20 years or so. You know, I'm on the way out the door pretty soon. But these kids are going to spend 20 or 30 years here. What is he going to see that's going to say, I want to be a part of this? You know, this is your future. You're going to put some time and effort into this. If you get a station like this, a young person's going to look at that and say, I want to be a part of this. I can do this here. I can support this.
I can be safe, I think, is the
It
big
can be
thing.
safe, too.
Because, I mean, there's, joining the fire department, there is an assumed risk that you take. You're going into buildings that are on fire. You're connecting with people on their worst stage. You're, in the medical side of things, I mean, we got COVID now, but before that, there was, you're dealing with people who are very ill and people who,
You're taking exposure.
yeah, you're
risks.
taking exposure risk, particularly bloodborne, airborne, anything really. It's exposure risk, and it's exposure risk on the fire side too. And yeah, I'd like to live a long life, and I know I've assumed some responsibility and risk doing this, but at the same time, as a resident and as someone doing this and doing it where there is a lot of best practices, regulations, guidelines out there, saying what fire departments should be doing to protect their members and what equipment they need. I expect that my employer, the town of Swansea, and its residents will meet me halfway at best, so to speak, in providing the equipment and the infrastructure and even the apparatus that needs to keep me safe. And that means having the decon space in the new station, having space to move around, having gear washers and dryers, and having a system that removes the exhaust from the trucks. All of that may seem a bit much to people, but it's necessary. It's necessary to know that I did my best and the town did its best to keep us safe based on the science and what practices were available at that time.
Deputy Chief Mattson, here we are again, another year coming back to ask you to get out and vote, March 9th, 8 a.m. till 7 p.m. Monadnock High School. Articles 3 and 4 for the new fire station, for the second piece of the apparatus that we need to purchase, and we'd like to see you out there and get out and vote.